ladies and gentlemen, the books is in. The books are in. Yep. They in. They're here.
Log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossy Volume 1 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harek Shun Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisa, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harek Shun Calfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Paisa. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards available now on KofiPaisaTV.com.
All right. Y'all relax. I'm here now. Okay. Peace to the chat, man. Appreciate y'all for coming through, man. Make sure y'all like the show. Make sure y'all share the show. Hopefully y'all already done that. You know what I'm saying? Well, y'all been acting like y'all been waiting. It's Friday night, man. You nerds ain't got nothing to do. Yeah, let's get into it, though. I want to knock this on out so I can get to my self-medication. All right. So what we talking about today, y'all should know already. We talking about Moors. I'm diving right into it. So let me expand this. Yeah, man. Peace to the chat, man. Share Lafayette need. It's your brother Sutek, representing Kofi Paisa Research Team, Niger Valley Civilization. You know, I've been lightly promoting this, so I'm gonna knock these presentations on out this month, however many I do, and yeah, I'm gonna fall back on the Moors for a minute. I'm tired of hearing about Moors. I'm tired of looking at Berbers. I don't like these motherfuckers. Yeah, but all right. It's Moorish March Madness. So, the Berbers, which is a European term, they call themselves Imazagan. What we want to know is it a connection, right? Excuse me, because we know these brothers that are part of the community that claim Moorish descent or Moorish Americans, we know they like to make a connection between themselves and Berbers. Is that legit though? Let's see. Today, we will be dealing more with the culture and the distinctions that they made within each other. When I say each other, I mean the Berbers and the Blacks. Right? Is there a connection? Do they see themselves as the same? Are they the same? Right? So the focus of this presentation is to very briefly show who the Berbers are, what areas they inhabited, etc. Right? The main point, though, of the following slides is to show a comprehensive separation of Berbers from Negroes, aka Sub-Saharan Africans, historically, from outsiders, and from Berbers themselves, to put to bed this mythology of fake African American Moors that the Berbers are or ever was one and the same as those indigenous to the Balad Sudan. Let my brother T'Challa in. You know, when they say the year 2000, something wrong. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Peace, T'Challa. Let me see. Listen to Get Mad Crew, folks want to critique. Yeah, I don't mind a critique. I don't mind a critique. That's what makes you better. You know what I'm talking about? Like, as long as it's legit critique. So, okay, what was that? These false Moors continue to push pseudo-history and pseudoscience to force a non-existent narrative of Berbers being originally black in hopes of connecting themselves to those Berbers that invaded the Iberian Peninsula in the 8th century. Right? 711 AD. We know they try to connect themselves to those people. Berbers are indigenous inhabitants of North Africa who generally call themselves Amazigan or Amazigh for singular, right? Remember, Berber is not what they really call themselves. It's an exonym. And I say that, I use that word all the time when talking about Moors because it comes up a lot. Berber is an exonym, meaning a term given to a people or a place from outsiders, right? So they don't call themselves that. They call themselves Amazigh or Imazighi. Also, Moor. If you've been following my presentations, you'll know that Moor, the term Moor is an exonym. Moors they didn't really call themselves Moors, right? Berbers inhabit a wide area from the Siwa oasis in Egypt's western desert to the Atlantic coast of Morocco, and from the Mediterranean south to the Sahel in Niger and Burkina Faso. Archaeologists believe that what they call Proto-Berbers inhabited most of the Mediterranean coastal regions of North Africa in the Paleolithic period, formerly called the Mesolithic, and produced the Capsian culture. By the Neolithic period, around 7000 BCE, Berbers produced some of the rock art found in the Sahara. If you're familiar with the Tassili cave art, then you'll know exactly what this sentence is referring to. Those were Berbers. Evidence is backed up not only by genetic research, but also by representation of nomadic life, tent structures, and clothing that are very similar to those found in ancient Egypt, representations of Libu and other Berber peoples from historic times. So the depictions that the Remetz made of these Berbers and these the Berbers from Libya and the other surrounding Berbers, they can still be used to show contemporary culture with the Berbers of today. You know what I'm saying? They really haven't changed much. All right. Now these are, remember I mentioned the Capsian culture. This is right over here. This area in blue in the Eastern Sahara. And the Ibero-Maurusi is right up here in the very tip of North Africa. We call it Maghreb, right? And remember the depiction. We'll get back to that though. This is some of the rock art that is attributed to these Berbers. Excuse me. From about 2000 BCE, Berbers or Amazigh languages spread westward from the Nile Valley across the northern Sahara into the Maghreb. By the first millennium BCE, their speakers were the native inhabitants of vast regions encountered by the Greeks, Carthaginians, and Romans. So Greeks, Carthaginians, Romans, among others. That's not it. You also had like Phoenicians, etc. That was up there in that North Africa region doing a lot of ad mixing. You know what I'm saying? Creating a lot of offspring. A series of Berber peoples, and I'll say Mari, and I'm not finna be looking crazy up here, slaughtering the rest of these names. You see them right here. Then gave rise to Berber kingdoms under Carthaginian and Roman influence. So they were heavily influenced by not only Carthaginians, but the Romans, also the Phoenicians, as I mentioned earlier. I'm not sure if I put this in any of these slides, but their language or the actual script, the Berber script, is heavily influenced by Phoenician script. Where was I? Of those kingdoms, Numidia and Mauritania were formally incorporated into the Roman Empire in the late 2nd century BCE, but others appeared in late antiquity following the Vandal invasion in 429 CE. So you also got Vandals and Byzantines as well, right? And the Byzantine reconquest in 533 CE, only to be suppressed by the Arab conquest of the 7th and 8th centuries CE. So those Berbers are indigenous. They're indigenous to North Africa. You know what I'm saying? That's something that we can't deny. They've been there. Berber history and culture is primarily orally transmitted. So they use oral transmission primarily to spread their culture and the history of their people. Berber languages are traditionally called Tamazight languages. Most of their literature is written in Tifina. Remember that script that I was talking about that was heavily influenced by the Phoenicians? An Ajad script used to write Berber languages or Libyan script. Berbers also wrote in Latin and also Arabic with the coming of Islam in North Africa. Some Berbers language texts in southern Morocco are written using Arabic letters. In general, most Berber literature is in the form of poems that are preserved by the Imdiyazin or bards. These poems are frequently sung, and two major types of dance are associated with them. The Ahidus of the Middle Atlas and the Awash of the High Atlas and Sus. So these are mountain ranges, right, where Berbers like to settle at, mountainous areas. This is that Tifinagh script. This is what it looks like. So they have a script. Let's keep going. Hold on, let me check the chat. Oh yeah, you gotta tell me about that slide. It is clear. Okay, we're going to the distinctions made now, which is basically the most important part, really why I did this presentation and what it's about. It is clear to me that the ignorance coupled with the inherent romanticism of the modern day African American claiming Moorish status would have to, by default, assume the task of forming a spurious connection to Berber tribes. This is done to consolidate and verify that pseudo history of blacks being the original Berbers. You know they like to say that, right? This claim will be dealt with in detail via genetic data later in this series. I won't be dealing with the genetics today. Hopefully, I'll be able to get that for y'all next time, and I'll be able to have a special guest for y'all to be able to break down these genetics much better than I can, because that's not my line. For now, I will present a few historical narratives of those for those that make this claim. Let us remember that the onus probandi is on those that make these outlandish claims to provide the evidence to substantiate those claims. What is onus probandi? That is the burden of proof, right? We should all know what that is. And the burden of proof is the obligation to provide sufficient evidence sufficient supporting evidence, for claims that one makes. For example, if a politician claims that a new policy will lead to a number of positive outcomes, then the politician has the burden of proof with regards to this claim, meaning that they need to provide evidence that supports it. The burden of proof is an important guiding principle that plays a role in many situations where it's used to help help conduct discussions and resolve disputes, though there are often disagreements regarding when and how it should be implemented. So we know how pseudos do. Make a pseudo ass claim and then be like, yo, prove me wrong. Oh, dog, that's not how it works. When you make a claim, especially an outlandish claim, the burden of proof is on you. You must provide sufficient supporting evidence to substantiate your claim. That's how they works around here. A famous tactic of fake African American Moors is to use the quote of Strabo: "Here dwell a people called by the Greeks Marusi and by the Romans and the natives Mari." Right? A logical analysis of this quote confirms that Mari is the exonym name given to the people by outsiders. The Berbers did not originally identify with this term. Right? I left out something that I meant to put in there, but it's okay. We'll deal with it on the next one. I'll go further into it. But Herodotus, 5th century BCE, in the Histories, Book 4, Chapter 197, makes a distinction between Black Africans and Berbers of Libya. So even in the ancient times, there was distinctions being made. These are all the Libyans whom we can name, and the majority of their kings cared nothing for the king of Medes at the time of which I write, nor do they care for him now. I have this much further to say of this country: 4 nations and no more, as far as we know, inhabit it, 2 of which are aboriginal and 2 are not. The Libyans in the north, these Libyans are Berbers, and the Ethiopians in the south. The Ethiopians in the south of Libya. So there's a clear distinction, right? Herodotus knows that Berbers and Black Africans, or what they would call them Ethiopians, that's how they would generalize these Black Africans. As we know, Europeans love to generalize, right? So, but even though they love to generalize, they knew clearly these were not the same people, right? The Phoenicians or Greeks are later settlers. The Liddell Scott Jones Greek English lexicon breaks down the etymology of the Greek term Ethiopian properly. Burnt face, i.e., Ethiopian Negro. So this is that. I mean, if we didn't know, now we do know. I just want to make sure that these Libyans are not Negroes, because they will refer to, these Greeks will refer to Negroes as Ethiopians. Right? This shows that even in ancient times, Greek knew that Berbers and Negroes were distinctly separate groups. All right. A scene from the tomb of Ramses II, and now what is known as the Table of Nations, show just how the Remetch, or the indigenous ancient Egyptians, viewed the Libyan Berbers as distinct from blacks. I was hoping to have one of my brothers on here, but we'll go into this another day. Like, this is one that's the primary, and this is a reconstruction of black Africans. Oh, here's Sean.
What up?
What up, man?
Not much. I ain't want to interrupt you, man, but I know you wanted somebody on the thing, so you can kind of tell people what they're looking at.
Right.
All right. So what we looking at right now is the Table of Nations. We actually did several shows on the SESU and Facebook Live, and even on other platforms regarding the Table of Nations. Why is it significant? Because this is how the Remetch saw the rest of the world. So if you look at the very bottom, you see the session between each person, and that is basically telling you that's telling you what they call themselves. At the very bottom, the Remetch, right? And then above them in the Table of Nations, they're talking about Libyans, right? Asiatics, right? And then they're talking about the people the south of them, the Nubians, or what you call Nubians, the Nahisiu. And then we get into the Remetch, but they list it like that because they're specifically telling you that they say what they say about these people, about like location. It's location driven. So like these, you know what I'm saying? Like the Hekakasu, that it's foreign rulers or whatever. You'll hear that term a lot, but when they talk about those Libyans, they're telling you the people in this direction. Or if they're talking about what people say the Asiatics, they're telling you the people in that direction. Like they don't generalize and say this person, that person. They name you specifically that way. So when these and that's that Libyan beef. Remember, you'll hear a lot about this Libyan beef, right? Like they just couldn't come into the land like that. There was some type of turmoil or whatever between the two. So there was a clear distinction that these people was something else. It wasn't like what I want to say, like the Nubians or the Nahisiu, for instance, because the Nahisiu was always south, always in the lands and whatever. But them Libyans or those Asiatics was weird to them, and the argument here is that these Libyan were not distinct to what the Nahisiu and the Remetch were. So they was kind of more familiar. Them dudes looked foreign to them.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so that's showing a clear distinction from ancient times. You know what I'm saying? So we'll go on up into medieval and more modern times. So prior to Islam's venture into Morocco, the concept of freedom was based more on the notion of protection from, or freedom from, the outside incursions and threats from other groups than on our modern sense of individual liberty. As such, freedom from external threats was created by bonds of alliance with a particular tribal group on the connection and the protection that a certain tribe could provide. Freedom then was established through tribal solidarity. Blacks interacted with Berbers, another distinction. Blacks interacted with Berbers through trade and war. So they traded with each other and they warred with each other. Individual blacks living in the land of the Berbers, which would be North Africa, the Sahara, occupy either a marginal status, which is a servant or a slave, or a dependent status, intermarriage, or a vassal. So these blacks living in Berber lands, they had a low social class. It was part of a low social class, the lowest that it is. They were usually slaves or servants. You know what I'm saying? So this is how these Berbers viewed and treated blacks because they didn't see themselves as black because they're not. They're not Negro. They weren't fucking with us. Y'all want to be these people though. Berber racial attitudes towards black people likely formed prior to the Arab conquest when the Berbers of Sanhaja and Masmuda were forced to leave their homelands because of external invasions. Berber victims, Berbers, victims of successive invasions by Romans, Vandals, and Byzantines, were forced to move south into areas predominantly inhabited by black people, technologically superior as a result of their contact with different cultures and their use of the camel. Berbers most likely conquered black populations of the Sahara and assumed for themselves a superior status, subordinating blacks. Right? So they wanted to be the slave master because blacks were different in their culture and racial characteristics. A racial binary was in the making. So they was different culturally and racially. They tell you right here, man. Probably the most known and celebrated Berber group by fake African American Moors and the wider Western world, the Tuareg. The Tuareg are how they are known. Tuareg or how they are known. Okay, yeah. Tuareg are how they are known to the Arabs. Yeah, because Tuareg is another X on them. They call themselves Kel Tamashek. They have a very distinct social class. They have very distinct social classes, usually four. So these Berbers, these Tuareg call themselves Kel Tamashek. Tuareg is an Arab term. It's an excellent. They don't call themselves that. They might have adopted it now, but it's originally an Arab term. Kel Tamashek or the people of the Tamashek. We'll get into that though. You see the classes here? I said four. Notice I got three. You got the Imajagan, the nobles, the Inesuman. I know I'm slaughtering these words out. The religious lineages, and the Imgad, the free common folk. So what about that other one? Right? Which one y'all in? Which one y'all? Y'all Sudanese is a part of? Here we go. A final group of specialized craftsmen and laborers, many of whom descend from former slaves, called the Equine or the Bella. So they are descendants of slaves. Now I'm gonna let you in on it. They say they're descendants of slaves. They say they free now. But do you believe that shit? All right, don't worry about it. The craftsmen and the Inadan and bound agriculturalists of non-Tuareg origin. The non-Tuareg origin. So they adopted the culture, the whatever that is, are part of the Equine group that forms the bottom of Tuareg society. So they're the bottom of the bottom, the lowest of the low. Former slaves, as they call them. I'm gonna let you know now, they still slaves. Let me know if y'all can't hear this.
We can't. We hear a little bit. Nah, we don't hear it too clear. Check the volume on the other side. Mm-mm. You got headset? You got your headphones on?
Yep.
That's why we can't hear it.
Alright, hold on.
The family group that this film is about still camp where they've always camped, 10,000 feet up in the Hogar Mountains at the foot of Tahat, the highest mountain in Algeria. It's almost exactly on the Tropic of Cancer and slap in the center of the Sahara Desert. The group is a family, parents, children, grandparents, cousins, living in one of the most ungenerous landscapes on earth, together with their black African former slaves, about 20 people in all. The camps still look almost exactly as they looked 50 years ago. The men are no less tall, the veils are no less blue. The true Tuareg is not going to come galloping over a sand dune somewhere in Reel 2. But if the Tuareg seem to have changed very little, the white man has changed a lot. 50 miles from this camp is Taman Rasset, once a French garrison, now a mecca for a special kind of tourist. They see in the Tuareg way of life things that their own lives lack: a sense of community, a closeness to nature, tranquility.
Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? My friends all drive this. I must make amends. Worked hard all my lifetime, no help from my friends. So, oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? Oh Lord, won't you buy me a night on the town? I'm counting on you, Lord. Please don't let me down. Prove that you love me and buy the next round. Oh, Lord, won't you buy me a night on the town?
The changing pattern of Tuareg life has been studied by an anthropologist, Jeremy Keenan.
I've been studying these people now for about 7 years, and in a camp like Sidi Mohammed's here, things still look much the same as they did 50-odd years ago. But in fact, the whole economic basis has changed. The environment in which the Tuareg live offers them very little. There's pasture for the goats, but they've always had to bring in, from outside of the area, most of their basic food products: millet, wheat, and dates. The economic system that developed to keep these camps supplied with grain, it involved a form of slavery. It also involved the exploitation of the black gardeners. This system was tolerated by the French. But in 1962, with the new Algerian government, they said no. We're not tolerating this. We won't have it. And since that time, since 1962, the whole economic basis of these people, of these camps, has more or less collapsed.
All right. Hopefully y'all paid attention to that. Right. The equivalent of the Ecline in the rest of North Africa is the Haratine. The Haratine are a social caste in several northwestern African countries consisting of blacks. So the Haratine are black people, many of whom are former slaves in the northwestern Sahara lands of Mauritania, Morocco, and Western Sahara. The term Haratine refers to a social caste of blacks whose low status is a legacy of slavery in Africa. That's their legacy. Yeah, but these are the black Moors. Oh, hold on. I got you. Officially, the Haratine are black Moors who are either descendants of slaves or former slaves themselves. Although slavery was formally abolished in Mauritania in 1960 and again in 1981, many Haratine remain subservient to their former masters. They letting you know, bro, they still slaves to this day. Yeah, I'll tell you why the voice. Another quick one. These are the Tuareg. These Tuareg are the people that y'all claim so hard. Hold on, did my shit freeze up? So yeah, you hear many Berbers, many Moors making these claims about Tuareg being blacks.
Every morning while we were there, Tahe used to go out from Sidi Mohammed's camp to get what little milk she could from the goats. Tahe is descended from slaves that the Tuaregs brought back from the south or captured from slave caravans as they trekked across the desert on their way to the slave ports on the coast. Since Algerian independence in '62, the slaves have been free. Most of them have left the camps to work in the gardens or on the road, but some of the women have stayed, living as they always have done. It was hard enough for us to try and talk to them at all, but to try and talk to them about things in our kind of concepts, like slavery and freedom, is hopeless. They see things in terms of practical and economic reality. Where could I go to? Who would look after me? Who would feed me?
Yeah, so these people, these Ecline, these Haratine, they are still slaves. They telling you, like, they don't have nothing. They don't have nowhere to go. They don't have no food to feed themselves. So they have no choice. They have no choice but to stay subservient to their former masters, which is basically still their masters. All right. Mano Dayak. He was a famous Tuareg freedom fighter. I don't like these terms, but we gonna roll with it. Famous Tuareg freedom fighter, a leader, activist, scholar. Okay. Scholar and negotiator. He led the Tuareg rebellion in the Tenere region, northern Niger during the 1990s. He was born in Titan Valley in the Air Mountains, another popular mountain range for these Berbers, Air Mountains. He died in a plane crash in 1995, causing some speculation that it had not been accidental. So it's a lot of controversy surrounding his death, but I don't really give a damn. The Ecline, this is Mano. The Ecline, as we call them, they were more servant than slaves. The descendants of the Tuaregs of black skin that we find among us today. Now, I hope you see what he's saying. This is why, to designate ourselves, he's telling you he's designating themselves from the blacks. We prefer the name of Kel Tamashek, those who speak the Tamashek language. Kel means people of, the people of the Tamashek. right? So this is how they make a distinction between themselves and the blacks. Yeah, they might call these Haratine or these Eklon, they might call them Tuareg because Tuareg is a culture. But are they Kel Tamashek? No. That is why we to designate ourselves, we prefer the name of Kel Tamashek, those who speak the Tamashek language. Tuareg of clear noble skin. Clear noble skin. That ain't y'all. Boy, I just remember when I be playing damn videos. So yeah, he Mano Dayak is letting you know, like, we don't consider them Tuareg. I mean, we consider them Tuareg, but they not us.
As you come down out of the mountains into the valleys, some soil begins. Some channels. It was here that Sidi Muhammad used to have his gardens. Until independence in '62, the Tuareg, like Sidi Muhammad, had a system whereby the fertile valleys of their land were cultivated on a contract basis by Haratins, black African gardeners. Unlike the slaves, the Haratins were technically free, but the contract system meant that the Tuareg got at least 4/5 of what the Haratins produced. In 1951, a French medical report said that 1 in 5 of the Haratins was dying directly of starvation. At independence, the Algerian government said that no such system was going to operate in their country and gave the land to whoever worked it. It was the end of one of Sidi Muhammad's chief sources of food. We asked him to come down with us to his old gardens, but he wouldn't. Feeling between his generation of Tuareg and the Haratins is not exactly cordial, but some of the younger Tuareg are now just beginning to work the land alongside the Haratins and their ex-slaves. The young Tuareg who took us to the camp, Sidi Muhammad's cousin, El Wafi, has more or less left the hills, and now he has a house in the village where Sidi Muhammad used to have his garden. To irrigate the land, which they used to contract out to the Haratins, the Tuareg made their slaves dig fogaras, underground aqueducts, sometimes running 2 or 3 miles. 10 years after independence, El Wafi has swallowed his pride and now maintains the fogara himself.
The video stop. Yeah.
Man, we blacked out. Yeah, they ain't gonna shit.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can't play too much of the video. You gotta talk over it.
It's alright. They got the main point. The main point, one of the main points at least, we back on. One of the main points at least was that these Tuareg had these blacks do all the hard labor, all the agricultural work, and if you heard, they take 4/5 of what these blacks produce. So that's 80%. They taking 80% of what these blacks are producing. The food from the food, every bit of labor, everything that is being produced by these hair team, 4/5 of it is going directly to these Tuareg quote unquote nobles. Now, we didn't get to hear the rest of the video, but if we did, we would have got to hear about how many of these Haratine are dying of starvation because these Tuaregs are taking 4/5 of everything that they produce. So they out here starving. They doing all the hard work and they out here starving. If that ain't slavery, then what is it? All right. Another popular group of Berbers of the Sahara are the Sanhaja Berbers. The Sanhaja, or some call them Zanaga or Sinhaja, etc. Got a couple of variations of that term. With the Sanhaja are responsible for the origins of the Almoravid movement and founded the settlement of Marrakesh via Ibn Yassin. So Ibn Yassin is the Sanhaja Berber that got the Almoravid movement on the road, and he also founded what was then the capital of Mauritania, which is Marrakesh, right? So North African chroniclers such as Ibn Abizar described a relationship between the Sanhaja Berber and the blacks, especially the kingdom of ancient Ghana. And yeah, that also, let's not forget, I forgot to add this too, but the Sanhaja are those that attacked on their way back to Africa, attacked the Ouagadougou kingdom or the Ghana, the kingdom of Ghana, the empire of Ghana, right? What was that? Especially the ancient kingdom, especially the kingdom of ancient Ghana, in ways that project an idea of perpetual Sanhaja hatred and domination over blacks. Ibn Abizar describes the Sanhaja as a people who do not know plowing, sowing, or produce. Their property consists only of camels, and they live on flesh and milk. So they don't know any hard work. Why is that? Because they got these Haratines doing it for them. One of them may pass his life without eating bread unless merchants happen to pass through their country and give them some bread or flour as a gift. Most of them are Orthodox Muslims and wage holy war, aka jihad, upon the Sudan. So they waging war against the blacks. They see themselves as different. Their first king in the desert was Wuwat. We gonna call dude Wuwat. Definitely not saying all that. Something Ibn Tiklan al Senhaji al Lamtuni. Al Lamtuni is referring to Lamtuna Berbers too, which is a offspring of the Sanhaja, king of the whole desert. More than 20 kings of the Sudan were in subjugation to him and paid the poll tax. They paid him poll tax. So these are my sources, but the Sanhaja and the Tuareg are two of the most famous Berber groups that it is, and I'm just letting you know that they don't fuck with the blacks. They don't see themselves as blacks. They wage war against the blacks. They hold them to a slave or servile status. They make them do all the hard labor and take all of the spoils of this hard labor and leave them to starve up until this point. If you're familiar with the rebellion, the Tuareg rebellion of the 90s, they were rebelling because they wanted to keep their slaves. That was the rebellion. They wanted to keep their slaves. So when you talk about Tuareg, when you talk about Sanhaja, and when you talk about Berbers overall, these people are not the same people from the Balad al Sudan. It's a clear line. That's why it's the Balad al Sudan, the land of the blacks, and it's the land of the Berbers. I took you from ancient times, from the times of the Remech, from the times of Herodotus, from the times of the Almoravid movement, from the time of the coming of Islam. Throughout history, these Berber groups have a clear hatred towards black people. You tell me, are they the same? I left out genetics on purpose. That's because we're going to deal with that on a whole separate show. I'm going to need somebody on here to break that shit down for me and everybody else that may not understand. Break it down for the layman. But in every other aspect, you see that these Berbers are not blacks. So for some reason, we keep up this romanticism to try to force a narrative that's not there. We not them. We not them people. We not them Berbers that ran up into Iberian Peninsula in 711 AD. No, Tariq was not you. That wasn't your people. They had blacks as slaves. They saw you as nothing. The same way the European sees you, same way the Arab sees you, is how these Berbers see you. Why? Because they were influenced by all these people. The same way they took influence in other areas. They took influence of how these other people view the blacks. So they not you. And I wanted to knock that on out the way first. So we know that we can't keep, it's no use in keep using this pseudo history and trying to be a revisionist. Nah, we not Berbers, dog. You got something to say, Brother Charlie?
Just peace to you. Good presentation and peace to the chat. Just listening to you, Bill, and we appreciate everybody tuned in. And Sanel, peace to you, bro. What comment got deleted? Yeah, please let us know. Retype it if you can, because YouTube. I'm gonna tell y'all like this. I said it the last streams we was doing. YouTube been blocking comments. About Black Morocco comment was deleted. Yeah, we build a scenario, but we're not like that's why I haven't even been commenting in the chat, because I was letting Brother rock out, and I'm actually over here trying to, get this fight in order. I don't know what's going on. YouTube been blocking comments left and right. I have to constantly approve comments, but I haven't even been on the computer, so I don't know what's going on. YouTube been doing a lot of strange stuff lately, so I want to clear that up. You know what I mean? We ain't got no issues over here. But go ahead, bro.
Yeah, man. Nah, it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been deleted. I seen the comment. I actually responded back to it. He was like, Black Morocco. They talk about that in Black Morocco. It's like, yeah, I got Black Morocco in here. Just hold on. But yeah, YouTube been on some other shit lately. So there ain't no telling what happened. Ain't no telling what happened, bro.
Gullah Juice in the building.
Yeah, Sosa said, who are the blacks? What does that mean? But the blacks mean, when they refer to the blacks, they're talking about sub-Saharan Africans, Negroes. L. Hamill, yep.
Mm.
I don't know. Let me see. Can I find that comment? Yeah, I still see it. Yeah, I don't know what that was. It might have been some YouTube shit, but yeah, you all good. Yeah. But yeah, man, the purpose of this presentation was to show the separation of Berbers from the blacks. If you want to call them the blacks, Sudan, sub-Saharan Africans, Negroes, whatever you choose to coin, whatever term you choose to coin, like these people are very highly distinctive from these Berbers of the Sahara in North Africa, right? So we can't keep using those people to try to make ourselves something that we're not. And even if you are Berbers, like, so what? What y'all the Berbers that went up into Spain and laid the war game down? Like, so how did you get here? We weren't coming from no Morocco and Mauritania, and we not from there, dog. We from West Africa, Central Africa, maybe Southern Africa. So yeah, I mean, I don't get it. But now that we've established that you can't use Berbers no more, now what you gonna do? How you gonna connect yourself to these Moors? You can say you were black Moors or blacker Moors. That's cool. But who were they? Who were they? Like, I already dealt with that. Maybe I need to deal with it again. A whole presentation to it. Because if you want to say you black Moors, then I mean that's cool, but that means you were the servants. You were the slaves. That means you were those that were getting castrated. You were the guards for the harem. I mean, you were slave soldiers, part of a slave army. That's you. Is your people in North Africa. And if it was, no problem. But then you're gonna have to show me how you got to America. Show me leaving from Morocco and Mauritania and coming over to the Americas. You're gonna have to show me that.
You got a question, brother. Chaves was asking what kind of tax you said at the end when you was giving your sources. You was naming the different types of tax.
Tax?
Yeah.
I was saying I was talking about the poll tax.
Newness taking people culture. Yeah.
Let me slide back up. Yeah. I think this is what he's talking about. Yeah, the first king of the Sanhedrin, Al-Lamtuni, He was the quote-unquote king of the whole desert. More than 20 kings of the Sudan, more than 20 black kings were in subjugation to him and paid the poll tax to him. They had to pay the jizya. All right, so I'm assuming that's what he's talking about.
The poll tax, as in like we talking about election, like that kind of poll, right?
Right.
Right.
You gotta pay the taxes, or we coming for your head. You gotta get that bag. You gotta give up that bag, or it's jihad.
Pure blacks like Wesley Snipes type.
Yeah, that's the blacks. You gonna tell me them Berbers and Wesley Snipes are the same people, bro? Fuck out of here. Yeah, man, but if y'all, let me see. Speaking of Moors, Kofi put a shirt together for me. Let's see if I can find it real quick on the website. So yeah, man, matter of fact, I need to be sharing my screen while I do this. Yeah, man, Boca, well, it's not called that no more. FamilyConnectedApparel.com. That's what we got, y'all. Check it out. Oh, we got some shorts on there. We got some, okay. Say them all look like some bosses. Yeah, man, we got the KRPT, Marcy, and Boca shirt. All three of the families on there. We got masks, backpacks, cell phone covers, posters, shorts, hoodies.
Chavis asks, what's a poll tax?
All right, well, let's look it up. To be precise. Look it up to be precise.
It's similar to just make it simple. Hut tax, the same thing they were trying to make the sub-Saharan Africans in West Africa pay a hut tax when they were trying to come and regulate the lands and all of that. And that was one of the ways that they actually kind of Scooter Ward in the background, but that's how they kind of brokered their way into the lands in certain part of the areas, is that they were charging fees. So, you see that too. They charge the Jews too. The Jews had to pay a jimé. When you see the word jimé in any when you read any history book or anything related to Arabs in West Africa or North Africa, anything like that, you see the word jimé, that's a tax. But you pay that tax. The Jews was paying that tax so that they didn't get enslaved or anything like that. They were buying their freedom, protection.
Yep, they was free to continue practicing their religion, etc. So yeah, poll tax, not POLE, not POLE, poll POLL. That was the confusion. Yeah, you got it now. Yeah, so we got no more lies hats, no more lies shirts. I want to stun on you a couple of more. You know what I'm saying? Like I still gotta get me a couple of them things. Yeah, Kofi been working on it. Yeah, FamilyConnectApparel.com. I'm throwing the link in the chat.
Yeah, Nunu been dropping a link. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate my moderators out there doing their thing. So I'm sure she dropped the link for Kofi Pasa, the learning market for Kofi Pasa TV as well. So all you gotta do, boom. And right at the top, you know, I mean, we got more than the learning market though. You know, we got videos, featured articles. We got a link right to the YouTube page. We got videos that you can be quizzed on. You can take a little quiz on them. You know what I'm saying? We got quotes. We got reading, book suggestion lists. But you know, this where the heat at on this learning market page. Spirits of the Mossy, Spirits the Pen, One Night Before Bed, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland, Cocaine and Consciousness. As I learned, we all learn, Spiritual Combat, and we got our newest project, the Quiz and Educational Cards. And if y'all ain't got these, what is you doing with your life? So I'm gonna throw that link in the chat as well, right before we get on up out of here. Yeah, man. So I appreciate you. The Mexicans right there. So I appreciate y'all, man, for coming through. Don't know exactly what day we'll be back again for the next part of this, but it will be soon. Probably in a few days. But yeah, I'm gonna play y'all out, and I'm out of here.
Log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossy Volume 1 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harret Shun Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisa, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harret Shun Calfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Paisa. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards available now on Kofi Paisa TV.